right, Abraham Drost from Clean Air Metals joins us here this afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm well, Shad. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me here today. Well, let's talk about the project. You're just outside of the Thunder Bay region, focusing primarily on palladium. Explain to me the opportunity of the project that's at hand and why it's gaining so much interest on Bay Street right now and what that means for the everyday investor.
Sure. So the project is called Thunder Bay North and also the Escape Lake project. We acquired these assets from Rio Tinto, the large multinational mining house out of London, England, and Panoramic of Australia. And we put them together. They're in the shadow of the Lac des Îles headframe. The mine is up the 527 highway from Thunder Bay. And interestingly, the mine, through the North American Palladium transaction in December, sold for $1 billion in December of 2019.
Wow.
And, so some extent our timing was very good that way because we were already in the process of putting these two assets together, but it really just highlighted the importance of what we've done. And we're just about to come back to trade here in late April on the TSX Venture as AIR, and so we're pretty excited about it.
Why is there such a huge demand? Like right now, the big talk is about palladium, and this isn't anything new for obviously people that are well rehearsed within the industry. But are you at all surprised as to how much this has become such a popular topic in demand right now, not only in the Thunder Bay region but globally as well?
Well, I'm not surprised on one level. I mean, Johnson Matthey predicted that palladium would go over 2,000 an ounce by 2020 based on supply chain dynamics that they recognized back then in 2016. And there was actually a South African company called Sibanye Gold, which actually took the intel, believed it, and actually invested on it. They bought the Stillwater mine in Montana, which is the only other pure play platinum palladium producer in North America besides Lac des Îles. Now, fast forward to December of 2019, and lo and behold, the South African struck again. Impala Platinum buys North American Palladium and gets the Lac des Îles mine. So, and really, I think what they're doing is ensuring security of supply in an increasingly demand-driven world, particularly with respect to clean air, pollution control guidelines, and the whole sort of climate change imperative.
How much is that a topic of conversation in your industry in the year 2020? Knowing like with global warming, obviously it must be topic of conversation wherever you go, is it not?
Yeah, very definitely. In fact, one of the luminaries in our business, a gentleman named Robert Friedland, sort of a mining promoter and self-made billionaire who's done various mining deals and is currently developing a number of copper assets around the globe, is very much about metals for clean air. He recently attended the PDAC, the Prospectors and Developers Convention in Toronto in early March, and I heard him give two addresses where he was talking about copper and the importance as an important metal for clean air, particularly in the context of the electric vehicle revolution.
So I want to talk about some of the team that you've assembled. You have probably one of the most well-respected engineers globally in Jim Gallagher. So if I'm new to the mining space, explain to me who Jim Gallagher is and the expertise that he brings to your project and what that means as a benefit for your investors.
Sure. Well, Jim is our executive chairman and the recently outgoing CEO of North American Palladium. He negotiated and consummated the deal on behalf of Brookfield and North American Palladium shareholders with Impala Platinum of South Africa. Jim, exited the deal in December 19th, I believe, when it closed, and shortly thereafter was able to come and meet with us and hear the presentation on clean air metals. And since then, he's joined the company. He's executive chairman of the board, and he's kind of our spiritual guide, shall we say, in terms of replicating that success.
Good for you guys. Now, from the business side, walk me into the boardroom. Latest round, you were able to meet and connect with Canadian businessman and billionaire Sprott and raised over $15 million. So when presenting this whole idea to Eric, what do you think impressed him the most about everything that you were, planning to do?
Well, Eric is a precious metal investor, certainly a bright light on the Canadian mining scene, has done extremely well by investing in precious metals religiously, if I may say. And it's really come back, in significant ways for him over the last several years as the precious metal suite has really gained in value. And then he has in turn seeded select junior mining companies in the gold and silver space. And here's and he was in fact the lead order on our financing that we closed in February of this year. And and so it was a bit of a departure, I think, on one level to seed a platinum palladium financing, platinum palladium copper nickel. But at the same time, with palladium prices at that time around $2,400 an ounce, at the time the financing was completed, and $2,200 an ounce today, it's somewhat, we're living in volatile market times. But I think you really recognize that palladium and platinum have begun to behave as precious metals, not just industrial metals. Mm-hmm. And so just as Sibanye diversified its portfolio holdings by adding the Stillwater mine and was the top growth company in the gold sector this year, that was reported 2 weeks ago, I think Eric, to some extent, if I may say with all respect, is hedging his bets a little bit and bought some exposure to that dynamic space.
Does it not seem like a great opportunity right now in your space, knowing that, look, we're in some volatile times right now for the foreseeable future? The market, is, let's face it, we just had a stimulus package in the US for $2 trillion, and they say there could be another 1.5 on its way. Mm-hmm. So resources, commodities tends to be a hot trend right now, and palladium's at the top of the list. So when you're meeting and speaking with different business leaders on a day-to-day basis, what can you share with us as far as investors that you're hearing on a day-to-day basis why there's such a huge demand?
Look, the demand is coming out of places like China, the EU, and the US, where they've had increasingly more stringent environmental regulations around pollution control of internal combustion engines. Palladium and platinum, and to some extent rhodium, are important constituents of catalytic converters. They are definitely a target element when you want to talk about increasingly more stringent environmental controls. Mm-hmm. These countries have also, and China and EU in particular, are also leading the way on the march to decarbonization of the transportation sector. As that takes place over the course of the next couple decades, we'll see a step change, I believe, in the infrastructure required to support that change. Today, we cannot have a Tesla on every driveway, so to speak, or a Nissan Leaf or a GM product, simply because we don't have the electrical transmission capacity to handle it. That has to change. It's a little bit like, the Industrial Revolution in the 1700s, which led to the increasing use of fossil fuels and their attendant effects on the environment. We need to go the other way now and decarbonize our electrical grid, or at least our transportation sector, and that will come with a step change of increase in transmission capacity of our electrical grid. So and only then will we be fully ready to move forward in a decarbonized future.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're reading with different investors, and right now the perception is like mining is a very stable. It's a very obviously you got to pick on certain companies that are going to perform better than others, like any other industry. But in today's society, especially with younger investors, it's like they want instantaneous results, and you have to be patient. So when you're meeting with people, are you meeting with younger investors, and what's some of the communication that you deliver to them to help manage expectations?
As part of the run-up to doing clean air metals, we did a millennial focus group, and we ran the concept by them. So yeah, we are a junior mining company. Yes, we are exploring for platinum, palladium, copper, nickel, and we believe these elements are extremely important going forward. The platinum, palladium for pollution control today, the nickel as a battery metal, and the copper as a conductor in electric vehicles going forward. We already need those metals in big supply today. And I said to them, look, how can we do it in a way that is acceptable in your minds? And they
Right.
said, look, do it in a sustainable way. Do it in a way that respects, the other users of the land, like your Aboriginal groups.
Right.
Do it in such a way that you're building up a team that is sensitive to the needs of others, and do it in a way that you can mine sustainably and cleanly, in a way that you don't pollute the environment that you're mining in. And we recognize that a step change is required. And so from that perspective, we love the concept of clean air metals. And we took that advice and formed the company, brought in the assets, and are moving forward on that basis.
That's great feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You're going public later this month. What's your stock symbol? It's on the TSX Venture, you said?
That's right. So we're the listing committee met mid-April, or at least early April. They have conditionally approved us. The lawyers are buttoning up the transaction, and we hope to come back on the trading on the TSX Venture as AIR.
Okay.
Symbol AIR, and so we're pretty proud of that symbol. It's being held for us now, and when we come back to trade, we'll also start drilling and bring results to the market in May.
Great story that you have here. One last thing I wanted to ask you is, if there's anything else you wanted to share with potential investors that want to get involved, why should they? And I'll leave it to you to answer that question.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So look, I mean, it really is about, sort of the future. The climate change imperative is real. It's not going away. As I said, we're being sort of guided by luminaries such as Mr. Friedland, who himself recognizes the importance of, environmental, social, and governance guidelines and corporate social responsibility. If we can, and what we want to demonstrate that we can do exploration and development in a very safe and ESG and CSR sensitive manner. But and I guess what I'll leave you with, Shad, is that the team that we've built with Jim Gallagher as executive chairman, Mr. Dean Chambers, who was independent director and Brookfield's rep at North American Palladium, and Marianne Crichton, who herself is a management consultant with lots of ESG and CSR experience, a director of the PDAC today. With that team going forward, we believe that not only can we explore and develop, but we could potentially produce these metals in a very sustainable manner, as we discussed going forward.
So a great roster that you've obviously acquired. Some very astute business people. And at the same time, too, focusing on a project that, is complementary to the global economy. It sounds like some exciting times. I wish you all the best, and I appreciate you joining us here this afternoon.
Thanks, Shad. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Abraham. All the best.
You too.